Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavitvaram Vasudev Vasutam Devam Kamsachanunamardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Om Bhadram Karne Bishrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashye Makshabhiryajatraha Sthirairange Istuštuvagum Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vruttashravaha Swastina Pusha Vishvavedaha Swastina Starksho Arishtanemihi Swastino Bruhaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. We saw na tatra suryo bhati na chandratarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantamanubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Over here, Brahma Vidya Acharya Angirasa Rishi talked about this absolute self as the one where the light does not shine, the light does not reveal, the physical manifested light is in presence of which the objective reality is known, but the objective reality which is illumined by the objective sources of light, the sun, the moon, the stars, the lightning and the fire, the five natural sources of light can reveal objects, but they cannot reveal the very subject. The subject being the innermost Atma, the subject of all objects, and the very subject of the light itself, the very Atma of the sun itself, the very Atma of the moon itself, the very Atma of the lightning, the Atma of the stars and the Atma of the fire, meaning the fire of the fire, it cannot be revealed. The sun of the sun, it cannot be revealed. That is a subjective presence. Because sun is, the son of the sun is. Because the moon is, the moon of the moon is. And the moon of the moon is not another moon, but the very self, the very core. of that moon is this subjective presence of the moon that cannot be revealed. In the same way, this being, this absolute consciousness, trapped in the physical form, trapped in the subtle form of mind and intellect, that subjective presence which is infinite self. Yet infinity is trapped within the boundaries and the limitations of the mind and intellect, the boundaries and the limitations of the physical body, and the boundaries and the limitations of the seedal form of existence, these vasanas. This self is the support of the waking, the dream, the deep sleep. It reveals the waking state, it reveals the dream state, it is in and through the deep sleep state. But this Turiya Atma, the fourth Atma, other than all this, it cannot be revealed by another object. It is self-revealed. It is knowledge itself. It is the very presence itself. Nothing can reveal it, and that is the essence of this very powerful mantra. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. Because the self is, and again the word bhantam is used, because it shines, all else shines, meaning because Atma is, all things are. The Atma is the subjective presence, and the subjective presence is existence. In the very sun, it is existence, because Atma is, the sun is. Because the Atma is, the moon is. Because the Atma is, galaxy of stars are. Because Atma is, thunder and lightning and fire is. And because Atma is, I am, I not only am, but I know I am. That is a uniqueness of this expression of Atma, where over here there is an equipment that can know. The subtle equipment of mind and intellect is capable of knowing. The knowledge aspect of Atma is self-evident in buddhi alone. And because of that, in this body, not only is Atma is, but Atma knows it is. And when that Atma knows its own nature, that it is, at the exclusion of all objective reality, and when this person turns his or her gaze to Atma alone, then the objective reality is not a burden, and the absence of the burden of the objective reality, when the knower of the self knows I am, then he is in bliss. But when the knower of, when this conscious being does not know that he or she is Atma, but then is tortured and tormented by the objective reality, that poor Atma becomes the Jiva, as though. But at no point in time is the Jiva apart from Atma. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. In the moon, the stars, the fire, the sun, the lightning, the Atma expresses as existence. But in me, tameva bhantam, the bhantam is because it is, and because it is conscious, it knows everything else. And when I come to know that, oh, I am, then this objective reality cannot persecute me, and the absence of the persecution of the objective reality is I am blissful self. And tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. In the light of the principle of knowledge, all else is known. Without the principle of knowledge, nothing will be known in this world. If I know this glass, if I know this table, if I know this is a book, if I know this is an apple, it presupposes the fact that I am a knowing, conscious being. A dead body cannot know an apple. A dead person cannot know his or her own spouse, mother, nothing. He leaves, she leaves everything behind and just walks out. That is what we call a dead body. They are not capable of knowing. The existence of the Atma is in the dead body, because the dead body still is. But Buddhi, the instrument of knowing, left. And because of that, that Atma cannot know itself in the dead body. So, tameva bhantam, body is, but anubhati is not there over there because the equipment of knowing left. So existence remains in a dead body. Existence is there in the moon. Existence is there in the planets and the stars. But knowership is not there. Knowership is here. And tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Who knows all else is brightly illumined. I know. I, the conscious being, knows. Yad jyotisham jyotihi brahma tadeva satyam sarvam tad vikaram vacharambhanam vikaro namadheya matram anrutam iti anrutam itaradityetam ityetam artham vistarena hetutah pratipaditam nigamana sthaniyena mantrena punah upasamharati. This portion of the Upanishad, it concludes again, punah upasamharati, it again concludes with the same ideas, that tad jyotisham jyoti brahma tadeva satyam, that the existence aspect of Brahman alone is real. And if there is a conscious being, existence has to be there. So existence, conscious being alone is sarvam tad vikaram, and all else other than that is vikaram namadheyam anrutam vacharambhanam vikaro namadheyam. All else is a world of name and forms. Namadheyam, it is objective reality. Namadheyam, it is name and form. Because there is a form, the form has a name. And because there is a name and a form, that name and form has a utility value. Like for example, something which is made out of wood, it has a flat surface, it has 4 legs, is called table. And it has some utility value, we put things on top of it. There is also something with 4 legs, but if it has a backrest, that same table turns into a chair. So namadheyam, various world of objects, it has a name and form, and as the name and form, so is its utility, purpose. But what is Satyam is, this Brahman alone is real. And when the Brahman is seen, name and form is not registered. I see it, but I see the expression of Brahman. And if the name and form is seen, Brahman is not seen. Seeing it, I don't see it because I see the name and form. So all this is anrutam. Anrutam, unreal. But Brahma tadeva satyam. Brahman alone is real, but tad vikaram, all the modifications that we see is just objective reality. And now another mantra discusses the same thing. Brahmai Veda Amrutam Purastad Brahma Paschad Brahma Dakshinataschotarena Adhaschordvam cha prasutam Brahmai Vedam Vishwamidam Varishtham. So Brahmaiva idam amrutam. Everything is Brahman, Brahman, Brahman. Brahmaiva eva. Brahman alone is amrutam. Amrutam, it is immortal. It is immortal. Existence in itself is immortal. That's why when the dead body when the body dies, it is taken to funeral pyre, and in that funeral pyre, the next day people go and pick up the remaining bones, and we call those bones asti. It is. When life goes, but it is. The last thing remains of the body is asti. So asti literally means, one meaning is bones, but the other meaning is that remains, and it is discarded in the body of water. So it is, it remains. Everything goes, ash remains. How do I get rid of ash? I cannot. I just wash it off in the most purifying agent. The purifying agent, water. So I discard it in the water. That may even this asti be purified. It is redundant. Ash is also the most sacred. That's why we apply it. So Brahmaiva idam amrutam. It is immortal. We cry over the loss, but in reality there is no loss. There was no gain. Because there was no gain, there is no loss. There is no gain because it ever is immortal. To gain immortal is redundant. It ever is. So because it ever was, it ever is, and it ever will be, at no point in time there was a loss of it. That is why Brahma eva idam amrutam. And again the word idam is used. Aham idam. I and this whole world of objective reality. And now it starts. Purastad Brahma, behind there is Brahma. Paschad Brahma, on the sides it is Brahma. Dakshina Uttaracha Brahma, the front side, the back side, everywhere there is Brahma. Adhashchordvam, above, below, adha, urdhvam, above. Cha prasutam brahmaiva idam. Brahman alone is, Brahman alone is, Brahman alone is. Vishwamidam varishtam. This whole world, Vishwam, idam, varishtam. Varishtam, the most beautiful. Kim bahuna brahmaiva idam vishwam samastamidam jagad varishtam varatamam. Shankaracharya ji says, varatamam, it is the most dear, the most closest, the most dear, it alone is. Varatamam, the most dear. Brahma pratyayah sarva avidya matraha rajvam iva sarpa pratyaya. The whole world is Brahman. It is Varishtam when it is known that the whole world is Brahman. It is Brahman. It is the most beautiful. And we leave things the way they are. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is extra in this world. Nothing is deficient in this world. Our drashti is deficient. And our drashti wants to add something. But in reality, what exists is fine the way it is. It has nothing less, it has nothing more. That is exactly how it was ordained and meant to be. If I don't see it that way, that means there is not something wrong with this world, there is something wrong with me. I have not seen it. Like what? Example is given over here. Avidya matraha. It is only because of ignorance. On the rope I see snake. But the snake has absolutely no reality. From the beginning to the very end, it is only ropa-maya. It is filled with ropeness. But not even a wee bit of ropeness is seen, and on that ropeness, snakeness alone is projected. And the projection is not on the rope on the outside. Outside it is only a rope. That rope which entered through the five senses, through the eyes, when that rope was projected on the movie screen of my mind, the mind added extra stuff onto the rope, which is called the snakeness. The rope is seen on my private movie screen of the mind. And what is seen in the private screening of the theater of our mind is called samsara. That is urdhva mula avakshakha ashwatham prahuravyayam. All that projection is not on the outside, projection is on the inside. Outside is mere existence, but I lap up the world through my five senses. I bring it inside, and in my private movie theater of my mind, I recreate by adding my own masala to it. And that is called samsar, and that is called Rajvam Sarpa Buddhi. Outside it is only a rope, but in my mind I have seen the rope plus the snake, and the adding of the snake was done in the private movie theater of the mind. It was not done in the vast movie theater of Rajrajeshwari. It was only outside is a projection of Mother Maya, but she holds Manorupekshu Kodanda Panchatanmatra Sayaka. In the Ikshu Danda of the mind, the 5 arrows do its own projection within, and that is the samsar within, and that is the power of Mother Maya, Rajrajeshwari, that outside she creates a movie theater, but within a movie theater she creates individual movie theaters. And in each theater it is a different movie, a different showing, a different time, a different place. And all this is on Brahman, which happens, and that is Brahma Pratyaya Sarva. Everything is Brahman, but avidya matrena, in each movie theater there is a special avidya at work, and each one of them is doing the own masalafying of Rajvam Iva Sarpa Pratyaya. But in reality, Brahme Iva Ekam Paramartha Satyamiti. Brahman is Ekam, only one. Paramartha Satyam, absolute truth is only one. But we have 1 billion different projections. Each one of them a unique samsar, a unique world, where Brahman, in Brahman alone, all this is happening, and that is why it is called Mahad Maya, great Maya. Brahma eva ekam paramartha satyamitam Vedanushasanam. This is all Vedas declare, this is all the Vedas teach. Shankaracharya ji is saying, I am not adding my masala to Upanishads by writing commentary. I am simply helping you understand the Vedas. That is all he is saying. Vedanushasanam, I am not teaching. This is the humility of Shankaracharya ji, that this is the declarations of Vedas. It is not my teaching. We enter the third portion, third Mundaka. Third Mundaka says, Para Vidya Ukta Yaya Yadushakyam Satyam Adhigamyate Yad Adhigame Hrudaya Granthyadi Samsara Karanasya Atyantika Vinashaha Syat. Paravidya Ukta. This higher vidya, this higher knowledge, because paracha paravidya, and paravidya etad aksharam adhigamyate, that by which higher is known, and not the words. The words we call Mundaka Upanishad, but what the words indicate, objectless reality, The book is object, the words are object, the meaning of the word, book meaning is objective, but the implied subjective meaning alone is paravidya. So that paravidya ukta yaya etad tad akshara purushakyam satyam adhigamyate. Only this truth, when Purastad Brahma, Paschat Brahma, Urdhvam Brahma, Adhascha Brahma, everywhere Brahma, Brahma, Brahma. Literally, does that mean I have to look up and look at the sky and see Brahman, or look down the earth and start digging and find Brahman? That is not what is meant. What is meant is everywhere, meaning Brahman alone is. What is indicated by those words is Brahman alone is. That is what is indicated is Brahman, and that is Akshara Purushakyam Satyam Adhigamyate. That is what it was trying to indicate. Yad Adhigame Hrudaya Granthyadi. Yad Adhigame, when that is known the way it was supposed to be known, not in any other way. The way Mundaka Upanishad intended for all of us to know Brahman, in that way when it is known, Hrudaya Granthyadi, the Hrudaya Granthi, we saw Hrudaya Granthi, Avidya, Kam, Karma. These three knots of heart, they are cut asunder. The same three knots of heart appears in Lalita Sahasram as the Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi and Rudra Granthi. Even that, because it is said in a very different way over there. Over here, Avidya, Kam, Karma. All this avidya created Granthi, which is the cause of samsara karanasya. It is the cause of samsara. Where is this samsara? Individual, private movie theater. That is samsara. Outside is not samsara. Our individual, personal movie theater of the mind. That is called samsara karanasya atyantika vinashaha. When this Brahman is known as Brahman, this mind which is so used to projecting its own private movie theater will come to stop. The reel will be broken. The glass, the bulb which projects bursted, the seats are ripped out, the screen is gone, and that private movie theater disappears. That is atyantika vinasha. So much so that when the body dies, the movie theater cannot go anywhere and create another one. That is called atyantika vinash. There is no rebirth of that movie theater. Completely gone. Tad darshane upayascha yogaha dhanuhu upadana kalpana yoktaha. To get to that avastha of the destruction of this private movie theater, this Upanishad even gave a special mantra. Dhanur gruhitvo panishadam mahastram. All that was taken. Pranava dhanusharo hyatma brahmatal lakshamuchyate apramattena vedavyam sharavat tanmayot bhavet. That with this bow of Omkar you release this arrow into the bullseye of Brahman, and let this mind become Brahman. All those which was talked about in this section, it was yoga. Yoga meaning it is to be united with, it is to be practiced, all those things. All those was also talked about. Dhanuhu, Upadana, Kalpana, Uktam. This entire section talked about it. Atha idanim tat sahakarini satyadi sadhanani vaktavyani iti tadartham uttara arambaha. Now the second section which starts, the same sadhanas continue to talk about the same Brahman, Sahakarini, which are to be practiced along with the other upasanas of Omkar and all those things. Satyadi sadhanani, which will take us for the absolute truth. These sadhanani, these practices are going to be declared in the upcoming section. Pradhanyena tattva nirdharanam cha prakarantarena kriyate. Primarily, pradhanyena tattva nirdharanam, to firmly, with conclusive understanding, the discussion of the absolute is going to be taken up to exclusively know the truth as the truth. Cha prakarantarena kriyate. All the way up to the end of this section, atyanta duravagrahyatvat krutamapi. Because the self is so difficult to grasp, in the two sections, this Atma and Brahman alone are talked about. This Brahman is talked about, and the expression in this as I am that self. And that self, even though so precisely it has been talked about, yattad dreshyama grahyama gotrama varnama chakshushrotram tadapani padam nityam vibhum sarvagatam susukshmam. It was already said it is very subtle. But again we have to mention it because people have missed this subtle Atma. Being Atma, they don't know they are Atma. And because of that, duravagrahyatvat, very difficult to grasp this. This second section, the third section continues. Tatra sutra bhuta mantraha param. This upcoming first mantra, sutra bhut, as though a one sentence sutra, an aphorism like it is discussed over here. Paramatma vastu avadharanartham upanyasyate. We start this next section with a beautiful mantra in a sutra form, meaning a very brief statement, but that brief statement paints a picture. Actually, books and stories can be written upon this sutra. The very picture of this Upanishad comes from this mantra about the two birds on the tree is what is this next mantra all about. Dva suparna sayuja sakhaya samanam vruksham parishasvajate tayoranya pippalam svaduvati Anashnanyo abhichakashiti. This is a very famous mantra of Mundaka Upanishad. This Mundaka Upanishad is known for this beautiful mantra which paints a picture about this very beautiful, in one little mantra, this mantra paints an amazing picture. And this mantra is taken as an adhikarana it is discussed at great length by Vedvyas Maharshi Ji in Brahma Sutras. That is why it is said Sutra Rupena. Shankaracharya Ji knows that it appears over there, and because of that the commentary is taken. Na tatra suryo bhati appears, this mantra appears. All these mantras are very important. They are taken up for discussion at great length in Brahma Sutras, the discussion about what is this absolute. So, Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. There are two birds, and these two birds are always united. Sayuja Sakhaya, and they are inseparable friends. They cannot exist apart from one another. Maybe that's why people, when they keep birds, they always keep in pair of twos. This Suparna birds, Sayuja Sakhaya, Samanam Vruksham Parishasva Jate, and both of them live on a tree, but they live on the same tree. It is not that one lives on one tree and the other one lives on the other. No, that is not the case. Samanam Vruksham Parishasva Jate. Both of them find their life and livelihood on the same tree. Tayoho anya pippalam swaduvatti. But this tree is a unique tree which bears fruits. But this tree which bears unique fruits, pippalam, tayoho, of these two birds, swadu atti, one of these, it eats the fruits of this tree. And anashnan anyoho, anyoho, the other bird, anashnan, it doesn't eat. And abhichakashiti, it watches the other one eat. Is the story painted in this mantra? And that is all. And we have to fill in the gaps. That is why it is said it is a sutra bhoot mantra. This mantra, books are written on just this one mantra. Complete story is told. Now we have to derive information out of this mantra. That Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. These two birds are inseparable. They are friends. The two birds which are talked about are Jivatma and Paramatma. The Jiva and Paramatma are never separated. They are always together. The Jiva cannot exist without Paramatma. The Jiva is a reflection of Paramatma. How can it exist apart? But the reflection has to take place somewhere. Where does it take place? Samane vrukshe. It takes place on the same tree. We are seeing on Sunday, 15th chapter, this Urdhva Moola Vak Shakha. Again, Ashwatha tree is talked about. Shankaracharya ji in his commentary talks about the same thing, that on this same Ashwatha tree dwells these two birds. And this tree is the tree of samsar. It is a individual tree of samsar. And on this individual tree of samsar, one bird keeps on eating all the fruits. The tayoho anya pippalam swadu atti. It keeps on eating all the jivatma is the bird perched on the lower branch, and it keeps on eating. And the Paramatma perched on the higher branch watches the other bird eat. Anashnan, it never eats. But it is Abhichakashiti, it watches. And we can see in this picture, the other one looks down upon the one which has a fruit in its mouth. So, when we see the Paramatma on the higher branch watching the Jivatma on the lower branch eat, it is eating fruits, pippalam. And what are these fruits? It is karma vasanas. And some fruits are ripe, so they are very sweet. And the other fruit is not ripe, so it is very sour. And whenever it gets the sour fruit, it spits out and it expresses disgust. It gets fed up with it, and looking for these ripe fruits, it goes from these branch to branch to branch to branch, looking for ripe fruit. And that is what the perceiver, feeler, thinker jiva does. That it goes from objects to objects to objects, looking for the object which will give happiness. And this story of two birds on a tree is not just a story, it is a story of all of us. This is what we do. In this aphoristic, beautiful picture, this mantra reveals so many things about a jiva. And the jiva finds itself living on this tree. Dva, Shankaracharya ji writes dvau. He says he doesn't want to correct. It is called asha prayog. Grammatically, it should have been dvau. Two people, second person, dual. But over here, the Rishi wrote down the way it was revealed, so we cannot change the grammar of the Rishi, and that is why it is called Arsha Prayog. The Rishi has the license to use grammar any way he or she desires, and that is called revelations. We can never change revelations. So Shankaracharya ji says what the Rishi means is dvau, two birds, because in Sanskrit there is a singular, there is dual, and then there is bahuvachan. But over here only two birds are talked about, not one and not bahuvachan, many. So dvivachan. So the dvivachan grammar should be dvau, but Shankaracharya says Dva, it is written, let it be Dva, but understand it as Dvau. Suparna over here, and he corrects it again, Suparnau, because the adjective has to meet the noun. So whatever is described, the subject, the object, everything has to be in grammar according to the other one. So Dva Dvau, Suparna Suparnau, Shobhana Patanau Suparnau, Pakshi Samanyadva Suparnau Sayujau Sahaiva Sarvada Yuktau. Two birds, Shobhana, a very beautiful tree. It is not a American winter tree, dried off leaves. It says Shobhana Patanau. The leaves, it is filled with leaves. And if a tree is filled with leaves, it has flowers and it has fruits as well. So, a tree endowed with leaves and fruits, these Suparnau, Pakshi, Samanyadva, Suparnau, on the same tree, Sayujau, Sahaiva Sarvada Yuktau. Always these two are inseparable. These two are always together. These two birds, which are never separate, Sayujau, Sahaiva, Sarvada Yuktau, in all places, in all times, in all conditions, they are together. And that is why he has used these words, Sarvada and Sahaiva, Sayujau, Yuktau, Sakhaya, Sakhayau. Again he corrects it, Sakhayau, two birds, friendship of only two. There is not a third person over there, and there is not one person. There is always two, because we are talking about Jivatma and Paramatma. There are only two things. So this two of them, Sakhayau, Samana Akhyano, Samana, Abhivyakti Karanam, Evam Bhutau Santau Samanam, Avishesham, Upalabdhi, Adhisthana, Taya, Ekam Vruksham Iva, Uchchedana, Samanya, Shariram, Vruksham, Parishasva Jate, Parishvakta Vantau, Suparnavivaikam, Vruksham, Phalaha, Upabhogartham. So two of them live on the same tree, and this same tree, Adhisthana Ekam, it is only one Adhishthan for both of them. Vrukshamiva Uchchedanam, Samanyat Shariram Vruksham. What is the Vruksha over here? It is the Vruksha of the Sharira, the tree of the body. And why is it called Vruksha? Because over here it is said Vrukshamiva Uchchedanam. It can be chopped off. The tree can be chopped off. And Bhagavan Krishna also says the same thing. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. With this acts of dispassion, chop off this tree. So over here Shankaracharya ji says the same thing, that is why Vruksha is used, Vrukshanat Vruksha, that it is Vruksha because it can be chopped off. So that this tree which can be chopped off, and this tree of the body, the physical and the subtle body, in this tree we find that these two birds dwell in this tree of the body. and vruksham phala upabhogartham ekam. One of this bird, they appear on this tree. Why the tree is used? Because on the tree fruits arrive, and the physical body is given to us because the karma phala was ready, the prarabdha was ready to give the fruits of prarabdha. And when the prarabdha runs out, the body has to die. So we are born because the fruit of prarabdha has ripened. And we go through joys and sorrows, we find right type of fruits on this tree because the prarabdha for that fruit to ripen has arrived. So some will be very sweet fruits, some will be sour fruits, some will be fruits which are not just sour but kidas will be inside, worms have eaten it. So our karma phalas are so bad, and some of them are so good. It is perfectly ripened mango eaten by a parrot, meaning Shuka has approved it. Some fruits will be approval of Mahatmas. They will arrive because of the blessings of Mahatmas. Shuka is a symbolic representation of Vedas. Meeting the Guru, getting Brahma Vidya, that is a great blessing. That karma phala is the greatest karma phala. When we find a teacher, when we find knowledge, when we find wisdom, because only along with that we can chop off this tree and fly off. So some of them, some fruits are very sweet, some fruits are not that sweet. Ayam hi vruksha urdva mula vak shakha ashvatha avyaktam moolam prabhavaha kshetra sanyakaha. Sarva prani karma phala ashrayatvam parishvaktau suparna aviva avidya kama karma vasanashraya linga upadhi atma ishwarau. So it's a loaded statement, and we will see this on Thursday, because once I start it will take some time. It's a very beautiful statement Shankaracharya ji is making. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.